We thought it would be interesting to take a look at it. If you're in the business funding space, if you are a small business owner, if you're trying to build something, take care of your family, how exactly does POTUS, the President of the United States, really affect you, your business? So, how does POTUS affect your business? This is from our good friends at ChatGPT, OpenAI. Thanks, Sam Altman. It says the President of the United States can have a significant impact on small business. Well, that's who we serve. We love serving small businesses. And so here's how it can have an impact. Number one, economic policies. The POTUS has the power to shape economic policies that can impact things. Regulatory environment, right? If you're a small business owner and there's a lot of red tape you have to jump through with the federal government and your local government, then that can make it very difficult for you to do business and also very expensive. We're starting to see more and more regulation being implemented in small business funding. So that's having an impact. Access to capital, there it is, access to business funding. That's a big one. Healthcare policies is another. Those are pretty expensive costs. I think we've seen our healthcare insurance cost almost double in just the last few months. So that's an impact, right?
A lot of our employees turned 26. It's been
dang, those kids are getting too old now. They're getting more expensive. They're getting off of mom and dad's insurance. So that's a cost. We've got infrastructure investment, trade policies, around the world, and then advocacy and support. So let's kind of just unpack these one by one. So economic policies, what do you think about when you think about economic policies that the Congress, Senate, especially the president, can implement to help or hurt business?
Yeah, the corporate tax rate was obviously one that we have seen a change in recently. And obviously it means more money coming out of our pockets, which means less money going into our employees' pockets. And I hate to see it. I definitely prefer a president that allows more money to stay with business owners in the economy and trust that they're going to do the right thing and get it out to more people. But we've definitely seen a change in corporate tax rates.
No question about it. President Trump did cut the corporate tax rate, and President Biden, of course, and his team have taken actions to increase that tax rate. So that's something that can impact things. Regulatory environments, another. If you have a lot of red tape and you have to get licensed in every single state and you have to jump through all these hoops, then as a small business owner, that can be very difficult for you to grow and expand. You want to grow and expand. And especially, I feel like this is maybe more impactful based on a state-by-state basis and less impactful by the federal government. For example, if you want to do business in California, there are no limits to how many different hoops you have to jump through. Same with the state of New York. But if you're doing business in Utah or Florida or Texas, typically it's going to be a little bit easier, less red tape, less regulation to grow your business, get it in these states. And if you're more and more kind of an online new type business that's operating across all 50 states, then that will impact you for sure. What are your thoughts on regulatory environment?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that has as much to do with the president as it does local governments and whatnot. My immediate thought was same thing. California, New York, cost of even getting business licenses just
my goodness,
really, really tricky. Yeah, I think we're probably going to get to this one, but I think a lot when you first put this up, my immediate thought went to like the solar industry, because we have a ton of small businesses here in Utah that they sell solar, and a lot of that has to do with the current president and how environmentally friendly we're going to be, even though who knows what it costs to actually get rid of those panels. That's the big debate.
No question. So there for a lot of years, and I think this is still going on, there's subsidies, there's these tax benefits. I know when I bought an electric car and got solar, and you've got solar on one of your properties, there's this little tax benefit that really does make a nice difference for your taxes at the end of the day. So they're incentivizing you to make things more green, to make things more environmentally friendly, which is fine. And then there's also the other aspect. Well, it's great to have solar, but it's still generating power off of the grid. And if your grid is generating power from coal plants, then it kind of negates that a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because my local, it was a city thing where they were giving you $300 to trade in your gas-powered lawnmower for an electric lawnmower. But I'm cool. I can only imagine how much power it's taken to charge up these 2 bulky batteries versus the gallon of gas I was going through every month of the summer. I almost wonder if it is that.
It ends up not paying as big a dividend as you would think. And there's a lot of different research out there too, even as much as, I love Elon Musk and want to support Tesla. At the end of the day, all of that extra power has to come from somewhere. And most of the time it's coming from power companies that are generating the power from coal and other, even natural gas, which I feel like is way cleaner than everything. Certainly way cleaner than coal, right? But it's been getting a negative negative connotation from the media and from others out there. And so at the end of the day, is that electric vehicle and everything going electric, is it actually improving the planet? Not as much as you would think, especially because you have to mine and get cobalt and lithium. And to mine cobalt and lithium in places like Africa and Chile and China, it's actually very negative impact-wise to the environment. So this is where I always go full circle and say at the end of the day, I just don't see how we're ever going to quote unquote save the planet unless we go to a full nuclear energy impact, and people are going to just have to get on board, and there's going to be extra security, and you have to get rid of the waste. But I just don't see any other way for it, right? Unless nuclear fusion comes to fruition, which they've been talking about for 50 years. So I'm not sure that's happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. Not in our lifetime, at least.
All right. So business funding, this is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
You think about the policies that President Biden has implemented in the last 2 years, and he did a lot of government spending, which caused inflation, and then that inflation led to higher interest rates. And so if you're a small business owner, we've seen higher interest rates. Now, we're really good at still finding some 0% interest rates for, 18 to 20 months for a small business owner. So if that's you, that's something, that's still out there that you can still take advantage of. But if you're, a business owner trying to get even an SBA loan, like the rates have gone up quite a bit there. I feel like it's less impactful for small business, more impactful for consumers. So if you're in a business like mortgages, real estate, solar, home improvement, cars, auto dealers, all of those types of service businesses are really connected up to interest rates. And so when interest rates went from whatever 0.5% from the Fed up to 5%, I mean, that's a big, big difference. And now you were just telling me, what are mortgage rates at right now?
Like 6.5%.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Because the house prices, especially here in Utah, the house prices really aren't coming down, but rates are at 6.5%. I don't know how anyone's buying a house right now.
Well, and to that point, it seems like the numbers are showing that less and less people are buying a house. They're on the sidelines. If you own a house and you got one of those lower interest rates during the low interest rate years, you're really not incentivized to move because you're going to move to the same house and it's going to cost even more. And so it just doesn't make sense to even look at moving for a lot of people. And then it makes it more complicated too if you're a real estate investor like you and I are. Now we're looking at 7.5% interest rates, and now it's like I'm losing money to buy that property and rent it out, or even apartment buildings is much more expensive now because of the high interest rates. So POTUS has a big impact on those interest rates for sure.
Yeah, what scares me, Leo, is these people, and I know and have friends that are tied to this, these people that didn't get fixed rates. They've got these variable rates, and all of a sudden they can't afford their homes anymore. They can't afford their investment properties anymore. And it's a very, very scary thing to be dealing with right now.
Exactly right. And in fact, one of these articles here, and maybe we don't get to it, I'll just talk about it briefly. There's a gentleman in Texas, and there were a lot of different groups that raised capital and money for investors to put money into apartment buildings. So instead of you having to come up with $2 or $3 million for the down payment to buy, 300 units of apartments in Texas, Utah, North Carolina, wherever you're buying them at, you could put your money in this pool in what's called a syndicate and buy these apartment buildings. And you and I did that with some apartments in Texas. And at the same time, if those syndicates decided, well, we want to make sure we have great cash flow, interest rates are going to stay low forever, and they took a variable rate, which a lot of these groups did, and this particular group had like 4,000 apartment units, and they got them at variable interest rates. And then when rates went up, now they couldn't make the payments anymore.
Yeah.
So they went from being profitable to now I get my rent payments and I actually can't afford the mortgage and all of the upkeep and the property managers. And then that dude just defaulted on 3,000 apartment units for hundreds of millions of dollars. And those investors lost tens of millions of dollars of capital, their lifetime savings, a lot of them that put into those. So that's exactly right. You have to really do the math, and you have to always plan for the unexpected because it will happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially back then when you were doing that, the rate's been so low for so long. Everyone thought, oh, it's fine. It's no big deal. We'll be out of this deal before things turn. And sure enough, I think it's a little bit better to pay a little bit more and get that fixed rate, because if you're doing your math right and you're profitable, then go with the fix. You know it's never going to change.
And if the property doesn't work unless you can take a variable, then you don't buy it, and you stay patient till the right property. So POTUS can have an impact, but after POTUS is selected, either way, how much time are you going to spend with that? It still doesn't really determine your success, and many entrepreneurs have been successful regardless of who the president is, and that's how you have to look at it, control what you can control as a business owner.